So, part 2 of what God gave me in 2 Timothy as being a biblical youth leader. So, this is the characteristics of a biblical youth leader. Some days being a youth leader is hard, some weeks, actually, some months. It's all I can do to keep the basics of the ministry afloat. Have class, nail the monthly activity, and mail the birthday cards. We talked about this earlier in my previous post. But I have got to put that weariness aside because it's not of God. If He called us to this ministry, y'all, we have to live in that calling intentionally, daily. Lord have mercy. Enter 2 Timothy again. If you're a youth leader in any capacity, according to Paul's leadership testimony in ministry, this is the daily driver your kids should know is intrinsically you. 2 Timothy 3:10. But thou hast fully known my doctrine, manner of life, purpose, faith, long-suffering, charity, and patience. So doctrine, instruction, learning, teaching. Consider Philippians 4:8, whatsoever things are, as a map of how to frame your mind daily as you pass on biblical doctrine to these kids. In all things, show a pattern of good, which is beautiful, valuable, virtuous for appearance or use, good works. In doctrine, show uncorruptness, which is purity, gravity, which is honesty, sincerity, which is genuineness. Titus 2:7. Abide in the doctrine of Christ. What did He say? What did He do? Search it out. Next, manner of life. A bringing up or a mode of living. We ought to live in all holy conversation and godliness, according to 2 Peter 3:11. From the first day and at all seasons, says Acts 20:18. Much like the senior pastor, because we also are an example to young believers or non-believers, we are called to a higher standard of living than the average believer. Sorry, not sorry. Y'all, we have to make every effort to bring these kids to Christ and give no cause for them to stumble. Period. That's a fact, Jack. Next is purpose, a setting forth a proposal or intention, showbread. Old Testament temple showbread was always be in the presence of the Lord. It was literally called bread of the presence. With purpose of heart, we need to cleave unto the Lord, Acts 11:23. We're called to be extremely serious about this in 2 Corinthians 1:17. Guys, purpose in your heart, Daniel 1:8. It will not come naturally. The next is faith. It's persuasion, moral conviction, assurance, fidelity, and belief. Faith works virtue, virtue works knowledge, knowledge works temperance, temperance works patience, patience works godliness, godliness works brotherly kindness, and brotherly kindness works charity. Be an example in the faith, 1 Timothy 4:12, and follow after faith, 2 Timothy 2:22. In all things, approve yourself as a minister of God. Approve means to introduce favorably, to commend to every man's conscience in the sight of God, i.e., in the hard times, in much patience, afflictions, necessities, distresses, and stripes, in imprisonments, tumults, labors, watchings, fastings. How is that even possible? Not by your might, that's for sure. Speaking of, I dare you to Strong's, the word virtue, 2428. He will be your strength. By pureness, knowledge, long-suffering, kindness, the Holy Ghost, by unfeigned love, the word of truth, the power of God, by armor of righteousness on the right hand and on the left, honor and dishonor, evil report and good report, putting away your flesh, your shortcomings, your insecurities, to adopt His miracle of love through you. As deceivers and yet true, as unknown and yet well known, as dying and behold we live, as chastened and not killed, as sorrowful yet always rejoicing, as poor yet making many rich, as having nothing yet possessing all things. Anyone a fan of numbers in the Bible? Yep, count them. 7. Perfection. Oh, and did you notice there are 7 characteristics listed in 2 Timothy 3:10 that we're breaking down here? Mind blown, but I digress. Next is long-suffering. It's forbearance, patience, fortitude, mental and emotional strength in difficulty. Lean on Him for mental and emotional strength. I'm certainly not going to pretend this line of work isn't taxing on all levels. Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. It is, I know. But we are able to bring our minds and emotions into submission at all times. Remember, this is part of the daily driver your kids should know is intrinsically you as a youth leader. Charity. Agape, a love feast. Affection. Affection, like how you feel about your spouse, your family, your closest friends. That is what these kids need from you, a love feast. Not irritation, not judgment, not burnout. This is serious. The last one's patience. Cheerful or hopeful endurance, constancy, continuance, or waiting. Are you in it for the long haul? Cheerfully? Consistently full of hope and joy? If this is where God's called you, so help us, Lord, you need to be. Speaking to myself. Seem impossible some days? I get it. I do. A freebie tip also from Paul, though. Now the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in believing, that ye may abound in hope through the power of the Holy Ghost. Romans 15:13. Boom. I just gave you the answer. You got this.